friends, it's Ellen here at Yarn Doc, and I am bringing a yarn review today. It is for Mayflower Rimini. Rimini. It's a lyocell blend from Mayflower, as I said, and I bought it in a recent haul from their outlet section on the website. Oh, words. I'm having trouble today. We'll see how this goes. I bought color number 15. It's a beautiful sort of buttery yellow color. And what else can I tell you? It's 50 grams for only 105 meters. So it's 67% lyocell. Doesn't tell us from what. Usually a lyocell is plant-based, so that's interesting. And a 33% polyamide. It recommends 6mm knitting needles, no crochet hook recommendations. But Mayflower pretty much never has a crochet hook recommendation on anything. It's made in Italy. And are you going to tell us how you want us to wash it and dry it? I don't see that. I don't see any washing. Oh, way in there. Okay, hand wash. No dryer, lie flat. So, pretty standard. It is one of these interesting, it's a chainette construction, and it almost feels like there's foam or something inside there. So it's similar to the Weebles yarn, but whereas the foam in that is contained inside t-shirt yarn so that it can't split on you, making it very good for beginners. And then the foam plumps up so it sort of hides issues in tension or that, also making it good for beginners. But this has the chainette on the outside, and I haven't seen a yarn that looked like that. So I decided I wanted to give it a try. So let's go give it a try. Here I've worked up 3 samples, as I usually do. One I will leave just as it's come off the hook. The second one here I will put in just the washer. And the third one I will put in both the washer and the dryer. I will remind you that it says hand wash, lay flat to dry. So I am totally going against the instructions of the yarn here, but it's an experiment to see what happens. So they're all 10 centimeters. They were all made at the same time with the same hook. So measure out at 10 centimeters. Now, you can see that I've done a little stitch sample, and I do actually have my finished object. Now you may be saying, Ellen, a hair thing, that's not really a finished object. Well, you can see I don't have a lot of yarn left over. So I was a little bit limited on what to do. And it has like quite a stretch to the yarn itself, and I really wasn't sure what to make with it. So I did make this little hairband, very basic little hairband there, and I'll show it to you on in a moment or two. I also made a stitch sampler. It has not bad stitch definition because the foamy core, whatever that is viewable through the mesh. And on this one, often the mesh is white or black, and then it is either filled or with blown fibers. This is different. The color is actually the mesh and the foamy part is white. So it gives it kind of a heathered look to it. And that does sort of make the stitch definition more subtle, but you can see you've got quite good stitch definition. You can still really see the anatomy of all your stitches. And I found it incredibly easy to work with. It really did sort of just glide on my hook. And I did enjoy working with it. Like I was quite, sometimes when I'm working with a yarn, when I'm doing the stitch sampler, I just kind of want it done. Like I'm just like, okay, gotta do these stitches. I wasn't. I was just sort of happy to keep going, and you've got quite a few rows here. Good variety of stitches. I'm going to frog it in a minute to see how it does with that. I just don't know what to say about working with this yarn. It was easy to work with. At no point did I get snagging or splitting when I was working with the yarn. But I find that this yarn has a lot of snags in it. Either just on the ball, there was several where the yarn that was on the surface of the donut, which I really don't like working from donuts. I really should have caked it first because I really don't like working from donuts. Just a personal thing. But where the yarn was on the outside of that donut, there were snags. But that wasn't happening when I was working with it. So it's, I'm just gonna see how well, I'm expecting it to be, okay, it is fairly easy to frog, but I think because it's got this foamy core that gets compressed and it's just not going to be, you can see how stretchy and bendy, and so in some ways it was very user friendly, but because of that stretch I just wasn't sure what to use this for. So I don't know if that's a lack of imagination on my part, or I was just trying to think as I was working with it, if I were to order it again or a larger quantity, what would I do with it? I just don't know what I would ever order it for. But you can see it frogs very easily. I sort of expected that. But like, you can see the difference there between that frog section and the original. And that's not going to come back for you. So I don't know that if you had to frog a large section, I mean, 1 or 2 stitches, you're really, in an overall project, you're not going to notice that. But if you had to frog a large section like this, I don't know that this part is usable. So, I mean, I'm sure I'll find something to do with it. I always find something to do with the yarn, but it's more going to be, this is going to end up in a scrappy project of some kind, probably paired with something else, because it has lost, what you can clearly see the difference. So, yeah, so that's where we're at so far. We're a little further ahead at this stage than we usually are, but I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pop those in the washer and dryer, and I'll be back with you in just moments so that you can see what happens to it. I am noticing, looking at the camera though, the camera is giving it more sheen than it actually has. It has a little tiny touch of sheen in person, but the camera is definitely magnifying that. It's not nearly as shiny as it is looking on the screen. Okay, that said, let's get washing. Okay, so pulled this out of the washer and dryer. And if you remember, these were 10 centimeters each. So this is the one that's just as it was, didn't go in the washer or the dryer. This one is the washer one, and it looks the same. Actually, it looks a little bit better because it was basically blocked when it came out of the washer. So it's got crisper edges and just actually looks a little bit nicer. And this is the one that came out of the dryer. And it is still also 10 centimeters. Doesn't really feel any better from being dried than being washed. Sometimes the dryer will soften things up. But no, they're equally as drapey, sort of equally as soft, but this one doesn't have the crisp edges that the one that came out of the washer and then was essentially blocked because of the nature of lying it flat to dry. Just gives it a better shape. So no real advantages here with putting it in the dryer. And this is all that I have made with that 50-gram ball, is these three granny squares. That's the word I'm looking for. 3 granny squares and the headband. And this is all I have left. And I'll put it in the palm of my hand so you can see just how very little it really is. It actually looks like more since I caked it up than it did when I still had it in donut form and was working on this. So maybe I could have done the edging on the headband, but I'm uncertain. Working with it, feeling it, I personally would not use this yarn to make garments. And I was also trying to figure out what I would use it for, because it's not soft, it's not smooth, but it has real spring in its texture. From the kind of yarn it is, you can get a sense of the spring there. And probably it would be good for things like baskets and bags. Could be really good for sort of a tote bag. Except with the chainette, so much of that foam is exposed. So and it does tend to snag. So I'm not sure how well it would hold up in basket form. In bag form, sorry. Basket as well, that the same, but I'm just thinking of a bag that you're sort of wearing out and taking out into the public and throwing in the car or the trunk of your car or all that kind of stuff. I think that it could go from looking really nice to really ratty pretty quickly. So still not entirely sure what I would do with this yarn. Anyway, I will be back with you in just moments to discuss my final roundup and give this a grade. What can I say about Rimini? I don't know what to say. It confuses me. It is a confusing yarn. It seems to combine two really good and effective kinds of yarn into one and become less effective in the meantime. It kind of pulled the downsides of both kinds of yarn into one without the benefits. My personal take on it is I don't know what to do with this yarn. And there were more downsides than there were upsides. So I kind of find myself giving it like a D plus, because there's nothing inherently wrong with it. I'm not going to fail it. It's not a failing yarn. it works. You can make things out of it. But I can't think of what kind of project I could make where it would be a first choice yarn. Or a yarn that I go, yeah, that'd be good. Or I can make that with it. I think the best things that I could think of to make with it are something like a bag, like a tote bag, because of the stretch. But as I said previously, it's that the chain snags really easily. It really catches on things. And so I think it would look old and beat up very quickly. Not to mention, you can see the foam core through the mesh. And it's the mesh that holds the color and not the foam core. So I wouldn't use it for something like amigurumi, which is what the Woobles yarn that I think it's patterned after was designed for, because then it would kind of look like no matter how tight your stitches were, that stuffing was showing because you could see the foam through the mesh. And it's not your stuffing, obviously, but I think it would give that look. Also, one ball doesn't get you very far. So, for the usage per cost ratio, that one, I don't find it to be that great. It's working very well as a hairband. And I actually like this on more than I thought. It went on easily, and the stretch of it is good for holding on to my head, and yet I don't feel like I've got something like pushing my head in. So for what I've made, it worked out well. Would I buy it again? No. I will not be repurchasing this yarn because I don't know what else I would do with it. I really can't think of what I would do, especially because it feels so soft in the ball, and then when I work it into fabric, the fabric doesn't feel soft at all. It feels quite rough, actually. So yeah, the more I sort of talk through the yarn, the more cons I have to pros. And I'm having real trouble coming up with a pro or something I could say, hey, this element is really good. So I think at the end of the day, I give it a D. And mostly I give it a D because I can't think of any reasons to give it more than that. Let me know. Have you worked with Rimini? How did you find it? What would you use it for? Maybe I am just not creative enough or diverse enough in what I make that I'm not thinking of some things that would be an obvious good use. I am always willing to be corrected in comments, so let me know what you think. This is my take. You might have a totally different experience with it. Maybe it's your favorite yarn. It's just not mine. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Come and see some more reviews. If you hit that notification button, you'll make sure you never miss a thing. And those things are free. So it's one way that you can be really helpful to me if anything that I do is helpful to you. It's a way we can be symbiotic. And you can help me reach my goals for this channel really trying to be able to build a community. And there are some things, some elements to that I can't do unless I become a YouTube partner. And I don't have enough subscribers for that. So if you want to help me reach my goals, please hit subscribe. Again, it won't cost you anything, but it will help me. What do you think about this yarn? Let me know. I have a game of Yarn Chicken. I need to go and see if I win or lose, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose. So I will see you next time.